Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have the opportunity to talk to someone who has spent, a considerable amount of time, not only just working in the marketing field, but actually understanding it. And if you're running a business, one of the things that you probably have been overwhelmed with is just the enormous amount of strategies, ideas that have been thrown at you. And what I like about Tim Fitzpatrick and, him and I were talking before the interview started about, their philosophy about, what marketing doesn't have to be that complicated. You just need the right strategy. So welcome to the show, Tim.
Thanks for having me, Terrell. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Now, before we jump into talking about your business, can you tell the audience a little bit about, what was your background and kind of what's your journey in the marketing field been like?
Sure. I was a math major in college. I had no idea what the hell I wanted to do, but I figured, I was good at math. It's something that can be applied across multiple businesses. So I was like, I'm just going to do this. When I got out, I still really didn't have a huge idea of what I wanted to do. I ended up working for my dad for a while. My dad had been an entrepreneur for a long time. He had started a distribution company that was related to his other business. There were no full-time employees. I said, hey, let me help you out for 3 months over the summer while I figure out what the hell I'm going to do. Well, 10 years later, I was still doing that. I loved it. And I ran that company. I became a partner in that company. I managed all the day-to-day aspects of that company. I tell people it was an MBA, in 6 months. I learned more doing that than I did in 4 years of college. And I just soaked information up like a sponge. And it was an amazing experience. We grew about 60% a year. And then we sold that business in 2005. I worked for that company for another 3 years. And then after that, I transitioned into real estate. I had always been interested in residential real estate, started doing that and realized, oh my God, I don't like this. I went from this high, I loved what I was doing in distribution, and real estate was just not for me. And so, I reached a point where I was like, man, I got to do something different. And that's when I started thinking about, what can I do? What did I love about being in distribution? It was dynamic, it was changing all the time. We were helping our customers grow. And because they were growing, our business grew as a result. And so I kind of started leaning towards marketing. And that's what I did. I got involved in marketing. Initially, we were focused specifically in the mobile application space. Mobile apps were really hot at the time. There was a lot of talk about it. It was changing. And for the first 3 years of Rialto Marketing, that's what we focused on. And we reached a point where, man, there was some changes in the app space. And I realized, man, my business is heavily dependent on the policies of Apple and Google. And that is a very vulnerable place to be. So I shifted again within the marketing space. And that's when we got much more involved in offering more comprehensive marketing services where we could, be that outsourced marketing arm for a small business and help them with their marketing and help them grow. So
Wow, I think that that is a very interesting, interesting journey. And even when I think about just, the changes that have happened in marketing, because, I hear some people ask that question, at times about, are apps still as effective as they used to be, or are apps the right strategy? And I guess when that comes up, how do you usually, answer that question when people ask that?
Well, my viewpoint on that now is much different than it was when I initially got into the business. For most small businesses, I don't think an app makes all that much sense. I think if you've gotten pretty sophisticated in your marketing and you've covered your bases in some more elementary channels, maybe it makes sense, but I don't think it makes sense to jump in and start using an app if you don't have great messaging, you don't have a good website with a clear call to action. I mean, I don't think you have any business jumping into an app. A lot of our app business was more in the K-12 education space where people have a built-in community that needs access to information consistently every day. And so for apps work really well for organizations like that. There are a lot of organizations that are using them as internal communication tools, which makes a ton of sense. From a customer attraction and customer retention standpoint, it can make sense, but I think there's so many other things that businesses need to focus on first and foremost.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, speaking of that, I mean, with the strategy, I'm interested in you developed this interest, and it started seeing a niche, and when it came down to marketing for your own business, what was it like for you in building up the organization around serving other clients?
It was an interesting journey because I think our journey is very similar to a lot of businesses. Even though I'm in the marketing space, marketing, there's people are battling information overload when it comes to marketing. And when you're battling information overload, it can feel really overwhelming. There's all these marketing channels, there's all these tactics, and it's difficult to figure out, well, what the hell do I need to do? What should I do? I got people telling me, oh, you need to do this. And people end up throwing tactics against a wall. It's spaghetti on a wall, hoping it's going to stick. And inevitably, it doesn't work. And in our journey, what I realized was things weren't working because we had missed some of the fundamentals. And to me, that's why the fundamentals are so important in any discipline, right? You're doing accounting work, right? There's fundamentals in accounting. If you skip the fundamentals, the rest of everything you do is going to be completely messed up. If I'm going to stand up and try to hit a major league fastball, the fundamentals of that are the same as they were when Babe Ruth played, as they are today, and they're going to be the same 50 years from now. So the fundamentals don't change. To me, the fundamentals in marketing are your target market. You got to know who you're trying to serve and who those people are. 2, you've got to have clear, engaging messaging for that target market. And then you have to have a plan of how you're going to get your message in front of that target market. If you skip those 3 things, you're praying, right? You're shooting a shotgun, hoping you're going to hit something. And inevitably, you're going to waste time and you're going to waste money. Mm-hmm. Until I realized that within our own business, we struggled just like anybody else. And there are so many marketing companies out there that do great work for their clients, but they struggle to market their own business, which is kind of ironic.
That's something I always find to be funny. I mean, I saw a meme on social media where it was something to the tune of, you're telling me that, you can, 10x my business with your marketing strategy. But it's like, if I ask, hey, did you use the same method for your own business? And, they struggle with that, to where I'm always curious as to, with a lot of the marketing strategy, even when different marketers on say LinkedIn reach out to me, because, we're constantly creating content. And, yep. One of the questions that I learned from other other good marketers is just asking them, hey, what's your target audience? And when they can't answer that clearly, I'm like, I'm not sure if you're the right marketer for me.
That's it, right? But I've always wanted to be able to say to somebody, hey, you need to do this, and here's why. And go ahead, look at what we're doing. I mean, I've got to walk the walk, right? And because there's so many people that don't do that. It's like the cobbler that has no shoes. And so that's why most of our business is with service businesses, coaches, consultants, professional service providers, so accountants, CPAs, attorneys, bookkeepers, insurance brokers, and then home service providers, so blue collar type companies, contractors, remodelers. Why? Because the way we market for them is the exact same way that we market our own business. Gotcha. So we know what's working, what's not, because we're doing the exact same thing in our own business. Mm-hmm. So it just makes sense for us. So that's why we focus primarily on those types of service businesses. But yeah, I need to be able to tell somebody who's your ideal client. Well, it's one of these 3 people.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And speaking of your ideal client, can you tell us a little bit about what's the experience like when, a customer does business with your company? Like, what does that relationship look like, and what are the types of services they can expect?
Yeah. So we, as we've started to talk about, we focus on the fundamentals first, because if you skip those, you're going to have some challenges, right? So, we really need to look at first where you're currently at. Okay. You can't create a plan to get to where you want to be until you know where you are. It's like your GPS. right? GPS isn't going to be able to tell me how to get to the airport until I tell it where I'm starting from. So we have 5 steps. We identify where you're at. 2, we make sure you've got the fundamentals in place. Then 3, we're going to create that plan to help you get in front of that target market and communicate the right message to that target market. Then there's implementation, and then there's optimizing. Your marketing is never done, right? Marketing is constantly changing, and you need to test and see what's working, what's not, and make those course corrections. So that optimization phase is ongoing. But our services are really a mix of done for you, where we're just doing it for you, or done with you, where it's coaching. So we offer a host of different digital marketing services, website design, SEO, pay-per-click advertising, email marketing, content marketing, social media, right? All the main channels within digital marketing strategy and consulting, and then marketing coaching. And what we do is really going to depend on where you're at, what your budget is. If you want to learn it and you want to do most of the work yourself, then coaching makes a ton of sense. But if you say to me, hey, I got some time, but I've got more money than I do time, then some mix of done for you with maybe you handling some aspects of your marketing in-house is going to make sense. But it really just depends on where the client is at and what their budget and resources are, and then we can put that plan together.
Awesome. So if someone's interested in doing business with you, where can they find you guys online, or where can they find you on social media or get in touch with you?
Yeah, the best place to go is our website, which is rialtomarketing.com. That's RIALTO marketing.com. All our social links are there. We've got a weekly podcast that we do. We create a ton of weekly blog content, and you can connect with any of our various channels there. I also, and I'll send this to you, I put together a page specifically for your listeners that has some more resources about some of those fundamentals. So if they want to dig into some of that, they can just shoot over to that page, which is, it's rialtomarketing.com/business-talk-library. But I'll give you that link, and there's free resources there that I think would help them get started on making sure those fundamentals are in place.
Perfect. Awesome. Now, one question I always like to ask before, I wrap up an interview is, when you think about your journey and you think about, just kind of where you've been personally and where your business has been, what's 2 pieces of marketing advice that you would share with other entrepreneurs?
Yep, absolutely. So the first one we've kind of already talked about. Do not skip the fundamentals. If you skip the fundamentals that we talked about, you're going to waste time and you're going to waste money, and you're going to end up having to go back to them at some point. So make sure you got the fundamentals down, because they are the foundation for the rest of your marketing house. The second piece of advice that I would give you really isn't necessarily marketing specific, but it's a quote from Jim Rohn. And he said, to be successful, you simply need to do ordinary things extraordinarily well. Sometimes we feel like we have to revolutionize our market. We don't. If we do those simple, ordinary things extraordinarily well, we will differentiate ourselves from our competitors, and we will be successful. So we don't need to overcomplicate things. Keep it simple.
Awesome. Well, Tim, thank you so much for coming on the show, for telling us a little bit more about, your journey, your business. We'll definitely include the links and, add it so people can get access to, like I said, to understanding the fundamentals and checking out your business to do business with you, because, marketing is an area that I think has become overcomplicated for a lot of people.
Yes.
But it's essential that they get it right. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Terrell. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.